Mr. Chair, and congratulations to the witnesses. Mr. Weiland, I want to follow up on a line of questions from Senator Shaheen about budget cuts in the INL realm. And budget submissions are for the President and Secretary of State, I get that. But were you involved in discussions in your capacity at State about the shrinking of the INL budget, about an 80% cut to the division's budget?
I was not involved in conversations about the 80% cut.
Yeah. And so your awareness of the rationale that you described, we were trying to look at programs that succeeded and those that didn't. You weren't involved in that analysis, but that's what you've been told by others who were?
No, Senator, to clarify, I was involved in the review of programming for sure. I was not involved in discussions with the White House about the overall top line budget number, but certainly as part of the foreign assistance review that Secretary Rubio began when he took office, I was involved in looking, along with every security and foreign assistance bureau at State, at a comprehensive analysis of our programming, and was involved in discussions with our posts, with our diplomats overseas.
Have I stated it fairly, just by following up on Senator Shaheen, that the budget, I believe, was about $5 billion in December of 2020, 84. The current presidential proposal is an 80% cut of that budget?
Well, the current president's budget request is about 125 million. But
so
that
from $5 billion to 125 million?
Well, sir, the 125 number does not include the prior year funds. We have a pipeline of somewhere between 1 and 2 billion, which we are also able to access.
Let me move on. What's the current status of the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative?
It is, as far as I know, I have not been in the Bureau since June, but as far as I know, INL continues to fund a variety of Caribbean programs, and the administration is quite supportive of that.
Here is a concern that we have that I'll just state for the record, is the administration's commitment to sort of the counter-narcotics effort. Obviously, the military actions in the Caribbean Pacific, potentially against Venezuela, are getting a lot of attention. At the same time, the INL budget has been significantly cut, and the president has pardoned notorious narco-traffickers, most recently Juan Hernández, the former president of Honduras. I was a missionary in Honduras many years ago. I have a deep understanding of the damage that he caused to that country, prosecuted and convicted in the United States federal court of leading a narco-trafficking cartel that trafficked more than 400 tons of cocaine into the United States, received a 45-year prison sentence. Less than 1 year into that sentence, the president pardoned him. I know it would normally not be in the State Department's remit to offer opinions upon pardons. That would normally be a DOJ thing. But because this was a head of state, were you involved in any discussions in the State Department about the wisdom of pardoning this individual and what message it might send with respect to our counter-narcotics mission in the Americas?
No, sir, I was not. I do not currently work on Central America issues.
Let me ask you this. Have you been involved at all in the preparation of the national security strategy that the president and his team released last Thursday?
The preparation of it, like the drafting? No, sir.
How about even discussions about what should be in it, particularly with respect to items dealing with the Americas?
Certainly, I mean, everyone at the State Department, my colleagues here, we've all been in discussions of regarding the strategy once it was released. I think when it comes to the Western Hemisphere, the key phrase that I picked up on was enlist and expand. The president has made it very clear that he wants to enlist the cooperation of our partners throughout the region to carry out.
I'm glad you said partners, because a key phrase I picked up was the Monroe Doctrine, which I found very puzzling. The Monroe Doctrine was a doctrine that was not about America's nations as partners. It was about the U.S. dominating the Americas and trying to keep European nations out. You know, you wouldn't mention Little Bighorn in a celebration of Indigenous Persons Day. If you're trying to send a message to the Americas about the relationships we want to have, and you call it a new Monroe Doctrine or a corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, you are starting off with your foot in a deep bucket with nations in the region with whom we have partnerships and others whom we'd like to. Have you lived in Latin America, Mr. Weiland?
Yes, I have.
I thought that was the case, and I think anybody who has probably understands how challenging referencing the Monroe Doctrine is if you're trying to partner with those nations. Mr. Jeffro, I have a question for you. Have you been at all involved in the discussions with the White House about the listing of designated terrorist organizations for purposes of the military strikes? That label is well known, and I know who's on it, but I can't talk about it because what I know from classified. But were you involved in discussions about who to designate as a DTO that might then be subject to these military strikes?
Senator Kaine, thank you for the question. I just want to make sure I understand. You're asking about domestic terror organizations.
No,
Okay.
that's designated terror organizations.
Sorry, thank you.
So just to put it on the record, but to stay clear of classified material, the Office of Legal Advisor at State has issued a legal opinion about the legality of military action against certain groups in international waters. I have deep questions about the legal rationale, but I'm not really asking about that. There is a designation of certain groups that could be subject to military action as part of that legal opinion. And the term that's used for them is designated terrorist organizations, DTOs. And my question of you was, were you involved in discussions about who should be listed as a DTO?
Senator Kaine, no.
Okay, all right, thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator